Welcome to this week's edition of the Klown Hour Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Hello. Please check me out on my website at www.theklowntimes.net. That's spelled like this. You may or may not see it with the glare, but it's Klown spelled with K. You can find it there as well. Also, you can find me on Facebook. So whether your smartphone, laptop, desktop, mainframe, if you're old school like that, wherever you are, wherever you may be, just go to facebook.com, search for the Klown Times, and you're able to find me there as well. I've had a few memes up and some posts here and there that are pretty sophomoric, as per usual. But anyway, so check it out there. And last but not least, well, actually two things. First of all, speaking of this, please get the merch at cafepress.com. Search for the Klown Time Sports. You'll find hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mouse pads, you name it, we probably got it. Cups. So anyway, the links are underneath the description on this video. So again, just go to cafepress.com, search for the Klown Time Sports. And last but not least, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Picking up a few subscribers here and there. So please do that. Even if you do not agree with either I or my co-host has to say, it's always good for good banter. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So anyway, whether you like what I have to say or not, as long as you comment, as long as you share, like, and subscribe, you'll be glad you did it, and I'll be glad that you did it. All right. So speaking of HBCU sports, my man is back in the house. Y'all know him from the yard. So HBCU sports reps about all things HBCU sports. So we're sleazy radio on Tuesday nights on Facebook Live and YouTube. And last but not least, his great work at herosports.com, raps about all things FCS athletics as they pertain to HBCUs. Dwayne Nash is back in the house. How you doing, sir?
Scott, I am doing well. How about yourself?
I am Peachy King, damn it. I mean, now I am officially the father of a teenager. So you kind of try to remember that they back to when I was a teenager, back when you were a teenager, and how obviously things are much different now than they were back in the 80s, but still the point is, the late 80s, but the point is that it's just weird having a teenager walking around the house. Almost eating as much as me. And growing.
Oh yeah. But welcome to the club, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Based upon my assessment, my son is long gone from being a teenager, but just the stuff that I see. Yeah. As things change, they all stay the same.
Right.
For the most part, they still have the same worries, just slightly different. We didn't have to worry about Instagram, but they still got to worry about impressing the cute chick. They got to make sure that they still cool with they fellas. Sometimes you got to make sure your kit game and your clothing game is cool. All that stuff is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the same, but it's just done differently. That's all it is.
Right. And I feel that. So there you go. So folks, if you have any suggestions about how to raise a teenager, please say so in the comments. I would definitely appreciate it, because my wife and I need all the help that we can get. All the help that we can get. We got our parents, well, in our case, mothers. Both our dads are long gone, but any advice? Please. Thank you. Please and thank you. This is going to be a cool podcast tonight, because we didn't do this last week. Actually, I hadn't done it the last 3 weeks, and talk HBCU college basketball. Love college basketball, even though I don't watch much, don't pay attention too close to these days, because these kids are much younger, and some kids I don't know who the hell they are. But anyway, it's much different than them when we were growing up in college or just graduate college, than as like men of a certain age group. So anyway, what I'm figure doing is going by each conference and talk women's, and just do a little overview right quick of women's and men's basketball, and talk about what stands out or whatnot. And we're going to go more into the minutia in weeks to come. So hopefully that sounds good to the rest of y'all, because that's how So anyway, we're going to start with our beloved MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. We're going to talk women's basketball. So right now, it's an early going, but Norfolk State, 14-3 overall, 2-0 in the conference. They are as hot as fish grease right now, and they are looking very, very good. So, they're the best, by far the best out of a bunch that kind of a mediocre bunch, to be honest with you. I mean, the only other squad that's above 500 overall is Morgan State, 8-6. But what are your impressions of women's basketball side right now? Is Norfolk State performing as well as you thought, or is there any other surprises? So, what's up?
I don't know if there are any surprises as of yet. You did touch on it. Norfolk State currently has the best record amongst HBCU Division I basketball programs right there, 14-3.
Yeah.
But I'll be intrigued to see exactly how they play out the rest of their schedule, the regular season schedule, especially in conference. But we all know the only thing that truly matters is what happens in the conference tournament. And I don't want to reiterate this fact over and over again because, unfortunately, the way that the selection committee currently goes, they normally just take the automatic bid from that program. And as sweet as it is to win your regular season, and as sweet as it is to be dominant throughout the regular season, it all falls down to what you do in your conference tournament for the Division I programs, that is, because, at least the HBCUs in the Division II side are looked at a lot differently than they are on the Division I side of the ledger. But as of right now, Norfolk State not only has a huge lead, has the best record amongst Division I HBCUs, but right now they're currently tied with Morgan State in first place in the MEAC.
And I'm looking at and I'll do this quickly. I'm looking at Norfolk State schedule, man. Women, it's pretty damn impressive, man. I mean, they won at College of Charleston, at Appalachian State. They beat Marshall. They had a couple of ugly losses. They lost big at Old Dominion and at Alabama, but they turned around and won at UNC Wilmington and beat William and Mary. So, and they beat them down. So, and that UNC Wilmington game was on the road. So, it's pretty impressive. I mean, they had a competitive loss at Penn State. They lost by 6 points, but still, wins at College of Charleston, win at Appalachian State. That's 2 road wins against slightly bigger programs, and that not William Mary at home, but at UNC Wilmington. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, when you're able to get wins over mid-major programs, as another mid-major, of course, it's impressive, primarily out of conference. But seeing how competitive you are against, those mid to lower tier major conference programs is where you're going to be tested and see exactly how that works out against who will probably end up being either a number 1 or number 2 seed based upon what your seed is going to be in the NCAAs. Yeah. That is a great litmus test heading into that.
Yeah. So just looking at, I'm on Norfolk State now, so might as well look ahead. So I think they have just conference play the rest of the way, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be interesting to see if anyone in the MEAC could at least try to rise up to the occasion and upset them. But they're looking pretty damn dominant, dude, and that's pretty damn impressive. So props.
Oh, most definitely. Like you said, great start. But of course, they're going to keep their eyes out for Morgan State and for Coppin, the 2 schools coming out of Baltimore, to see exactly how well they do and how well they finish, not only within the regular season, but whether or not they're capable of winning the conference tournament.
And speaking of Norfolk State, let's just switch to the men's side. And they got Norfolk State has the monopoly, if you will, on the women's and the men's side. The men is 2-0 in the conference, or 2-0 in the conference. It's 12-5 overall. The tie with Morgan State for the conference lead at 2-0. They're 8-8. So basically, same as the women's side. Norfolk State is the only squad that's above 500. So I'm just looking at the schedule right now. They have some. Let's look at their wins right quick. They won at William and Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. They their beloved A&T.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
They're in Vegas, yeah.
yeah. In Las Vegas, they won by 6. Um, so yeah, so those are the wins, most noble wins. Um, yeah, but anyway, yeah, they lost big at Houston. Houston is like the top 5 teams in the country.
Exactly right.
Nothing to be ashamed of,
No, not at
and
all.
whatnot. And they won out. They also won at Mama.
Uh-huh.
Um, so basically, we have a similar situation. Norfolk Statesman is very competitive as well. They don't have any really bad losses. They're very competitive, like I said, 12-5 record. They may get a favorable schedule if they win. If they win the regular season and the conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like one of those years where they're barely over 500. So I guess the same thing here, man. It looks like Norfolk State is dominant on both sides, and this looks like it's going to be a Norfolk State party for men's and women's basketball in the year.
It's a possibility, but help me out here, Scott. I thought I saw that in the MEAC there are currently 4 teams that are over 500 right now.
Okay, well, let's probably change. So while I'm looking at this, I don't know when this is updated. The overall records, like Morgan State, Maryland, Eastern Shore, Central, are both, all 3 of them are 8-8.
Yeah. Oh, 500 or better. I'm sorry. That's my
500
mistake.
or better. Yeah.
Yeah, so 500 and better.
Yeah.
Morgan had a huge win over North Carolina Central last week.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to talk about, that number 2, 3, and number 4 team in the MEAC and trying to set themselves up so they can potentially meet Norfolk in the finals. But all 4 of those programs are looking good right now. And my sleeper team coming out of the MEAC is Kenny Blakeney and those Howard Bison. I like them too.
Oh, okay.
They're 8-10. They've had some tough losses out of conference, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to make a late season push this year.
Nice. So it should. I think it's going to be a bit more exciting on the men's side, just because to your point, Howard had a sleeper team that had some tough losses. Citrus always competitive with the head coach. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always in there, and so it's going to be interesting to watch him down the stretch. I'll definitely pay attention to the men's side at least.
Oh yeah.
Basketball, because it's going to be much more competitive than the women's side.
Oh yeah, and don't sleep on Coppin State either with your boy Juan Dixon, the head coach up there in Baltimore.
That's right.
And this kid Sessions. This kid Sessions out of Coppin, that dude has been balling this year. We'll talk a little bit more about him next week in terms of leaders in the respective conferences. But every time I turn around, I'm seeing that this kid Sessions is having big games. He actually, I forget what the out of conference win the big out of conference win that they had earlier on this year. But yeah, he was most definitely a leader in that game.
Nice. We'll definitely get into that next week for sure, which was going to be exciting. Look forward to that. So let's just switch from our beloved MEAC to the other power conference as well, the HBCU Flex. That's the SWAC. So with the women's, ladies first. Jackson State looks like they're going to be crying again for at least on the women's side of basketball. And I really love their head coach too. Her name slips my mind, but they're undefeated conference play at 3-0, followed by Alabama State, Southern, Prairie View, Alabama A&M, and Grambling State, who are all 3-1. Bethune is 2-1 as well. No one's overall records are over 500, but still,
no.
It looks like it's going to be one of those years where whoever wins the SWAC on the women's side at least probably not get so favorable seeding in the NCAA tournament. But what are we to watch for this year in the women's side of the SWAC of SWAC basketball?
Oh, it's going to be, of course, that what's that the they're not doing conferences in the SWAC, are they?
Well, we're not. I'm sorry.
They're not doing not conferences with divisions in the SWAC.
No. It's all one.
And so it's all one, right? Yeah. Look for those teams with Grambling, Prairie View, A&M, Alabama State, and Southern. To have some interesting battles throughout the season because I think all of them are within a game
Right.
of Jackson State right now.
That's right.
Matter of fact, I almost forgot about Alabama A&M and Bethune-Cookman. All of them are within a game of Jackson State, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they're going to be capable of keeping pace with the Tigers throughout the rest of the season, and then of course how they fare within the tournament. But yeah, as of right now, JSU currently undefeated in the SWAC has that early lead.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule right now. Talk about, I mean, they lost. They're 6-7 overall for a reason. They got a murderous road for a schedule, out of conference schedule. I mean, they were at Carolina,
yeah,
and Colorado. They won at Texas Tech, and they beat Louisiana. There were two good out of conference wins, right? Right there against bigger programs.
Oh yeah, the Texas Tech and Louisiana wins. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so that's really good. So that bodes well for them. If they continue to win out and dominate the SWAC regular season and win the conference tournament. So they'll probably get a better seeding than I originally thought, because at least the out of conference schedule was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, they played at UCLA, at Oregon State, at Missouri, they hosted Texas, and they were at Washington State. They beat Southeast Louisiana at home, but still, I forget the ladies, the coach of women's team, but she's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you to you like this though, Scott. This will be a
Yeah.
little bit of tough love. Regardless of how they do record-wise within the conference, it's just going to be more so which 16 seed they're going to get.
Sure.
With everyone currently being under 500, and yes, Jackson State has faced some tough out of conference opponents. Those 2 wins might help. It'll be basically what the resumes of the other 16 seeds look like.
Right.
But yeah, the hope is to avoid the number 1 overall seed. Right. But we'll see exactly how that goes. But God bless whoever comes out of that conference tournament, and it's not Jackson State, and they win it, because they're going to end up facing a buzzsaw and whoever the number 1 overall seed is in the country.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So, yeah, because one last thing about that. The reason why I'm tripping on Jackson State's women's right now is because I remember how well they did against LSU in like in the tournament last year. That caused LSU's coach Kim Mulkey to give what many perceived as a backhanded compliment to Jackson State's head coach, something to the tune of, she's winning with the resources, lack of resources that they have, something like that. I forget the exact.
Yeah, it was Tamika Reed is her name.
Tamika Reed, yeah. And saying something to the fact that she may or may not be there long because she's so good.
You know what though? Because it's weird. Whenever I hear someone outside of the HBCU ranks say something like that, I do cringe a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I hear someone within the ranks say that, I'm like, oh, okay, they're just basically giving them their props. So I have to lean more towards the latter than the former.
Sure.
I understand we've had that tough conversation about Deion Sanders and his move over to Colorado, and I promise you, we'll end up talking about that less and less as the year goes on. But as it pertains with anyone, right, on any level, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna quote him. It's either you elevate or you terminate, right?
Right.
And she's basically saying that if her coaching ends up being great where she currently is, chances are she's going to end up someplace else coaching. Now, do I believe it's going to be another Power 5 program? Well, will it be a Power 5 program? I'm not necessarily sure. Maybe she can go on to be an assistant if that's what she desires to do. But if she wants to continue to lead teams, it'll probably more so be within the HBCU ranks, or within the another major. I'm not saying that she's not good enough. I just know how, based upon what we've seen in recent history, unfortunately, that our HBCU coaches don't necessarily get an opportunity elsewhere in major programs to be head coaches.
Yeah. Well said. Let's switch to the men's side right quick. Look at the top of the standings. You got Southern at 4-0.
Yeah.
Followed by Jackson State at 3-0. And Grambling State, who I think is the best team right now in the SWAC, is 3-1 in conference, but at 10-6 overall. so they have a better overall record. Jackson State is 3-0. A little misleading because they're 4-12 overall.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's pretty brutal, dude. So it's really, I think it looks like it may come down between Grambling State and Southern. So before we get into like the Grambling State's wins or whatever, who do you think is looking to be the better team right now coming out of the men's side of the SWAC?
Man, it could be a hot box.
Okay.
You have. I know you. I'll go ahead and I'll get into the wins real quick though.
Yeah.
As of right now, like you're saying, you did highlight both Grambling and Southern. They're the only two programs in the MAC, not the MAC. I'm sorry, in the SWAC that have their overall records that are over 37.5%.
Yeah.
But you talk about teams like Southern, who excuse me, who have wins over California and Loyola of Maryland, Jackson State, like you said, who are 4-12 but are currently 3-0 in the conference. They have a win over SMU. That's their lone out of conference win. Okay. Grambling, who's been like you said earlier, who's been relatively strong, have big out of conference wins over Colorado and Vanderbilt. That's most definitely a team to watch. Prairie View, they beat Washington State. Alcorn has a win over Wichita State, and Texas Southern, who is winless in the SWAC right now, has a win over Arizona State. And you know, Texas Southern, who most definitely during the Mike Davis years were extremely strong in the conference. It had some good showings in the NCAA tournament. I forget who the current head coach at Texas Southern is now, but it'll be really intriguing to see whether or not Texas Southern can turn it on, relatively similar to what they did last year, later on in the during conference play, to see if they're going to be able to better their seed for their conference tournament and see exactly how they play within tournament play. But as of right now, to your point, Grambling has looked the best on paper based upon what they've done so far at this point during the regular season.
I mean, they beat down Colorado at home, but they won at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. You know, it's you know, they won at University of Texas San Antonio. So I mean, that's good out of conference win, especially, you know, talk about Power 5, Colorado and Vanderbilt. But I mean, the point is you can't sleep with these boys. And if they have a good showing in conference and we're the conference tournament, they may get a decent seed, like in the East of the Bay. So so it's something they're definitely a team to keep an eye on, man. Them and Southern right now, I think. So it's gonna be pretty fun watching those two go at it.
But to your point, real quick about the SWAC and their out of conference play, the biggest thing for them this past season, or this current season, has most definitely been that Pac-12 SWAC challenge that they had earlier this year. Yeah. Like I just rattled off for you, with Southern having that win over Cal, Jackson State. Well, I'm sorry, Grambling over Colorado, Prairie View A&M over Washington State, and Texas Southern over Arizona State. Big wins within that SWAC versus Pac-12 challenge that depending upon how the committee sees the Pac-12 and how well they end up playing would potentially could be beneficial to the SWAC champion if it's one of those four programs.
Well stated. Let's move along to the Seattle Bay, shall we? The conference of my youth, because I grew up literally right around the corner down the street from Winston State. Just on the women. Lincoln University is really doing like Lincoln University, Fayetteville State, Elizabeth City State, Bowie State, and Winston State doing well in conference, like Fayetteville State and Lincoln leading their respective northern and southern divisions. I should say southern and northern divisions at 5-1 record, as well as Elizabeth City State, and Bowie, both are 4-2 in the northern division behind Lincoln. Winston State 4-2 behind Fayetteville State. So, and they have decent overall conference records. I mean, overall records, like Lincoln at 10-5, Elizabeth City at 10-4, Bowie State at 8-7, Fayetteville State at 9-5, and Winston State at 8-6, and even Kaplan at 9-5 overall. So This is pretty competitive, man. This is which like more competitive teams means more fun. So this I mean, it looks like the women's side is gonna be fun in the CLA this year.
Yeah, like you said, you had the two teams in Lincoln and in Elizabeth City State that both have over 10 wins. Like you said before as well, you have those 5 teams in Elizabeth City State, Bowie
Right,
State, Winston-Salem State, Fayetteville State, and Lincoln that are all going to be competitive in their two respective conferences. I'm sorry, not conferences, but divisions.
right.
And I'm looking at somewhere between 2 to 3 teams making it from this conference to the Division II tournament based upon how
Wow,
they do in the upcoming tournament
wow.
in
That's pretty
February in
lofty.
Baltimore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean they're very competitive. I mean, looking at the conference records and the overall records especially,
yeah.
they look pretty damn good. And speaking of pretty damn good, let's go to the men's side.
Ooh,
Dude, Virginia State, Virginia Union, monsters in that Northern Division. Both at 12-4
mm-hmm.
overall. I know Virginia Union is 2-2 in the conference right now, but Virginia State's unbeaten in conference play. And then you go to the Southern Division. Kaplan is 12-2, bro.
Yeah,
Winston State is 11-4.
uh-huh.
They're both of them percentage wise are not leading the Southern Division. That would be Livingstone at 3-1 conference and 7-6 overall. But Kaplan's 4-2. I think them and Winston State, and don't sleep on Fayetteville State. They're 4-2 in the Southern Division, the conference, and 9-9
Mm-hmm.
overall. But I think while I think the Southern Division is going to be very competitive, I mean, between Kaplan, Fairfield State, and Winston State, man, oh man, that Northern Division, those two Virginia schools, and Shaw's not too bad either, 97 overall, but those two Virginia schools,
Yeah,
man, they're beasts.
nasty. And to reiterate what you said, 4 teams in the CIAA have 10 or more wins.
Mm-hmm.
As of right now, like you said, West Virginia State and Claflin. I'm sorry, West Virginia State and Shaw,
Virginia
right?
State,
Are
yeah,
the
Virginia State, yeah.
well, not West Virginia State. I'm sorry, Virginia State and Winston-Salem State are the two division leaders, right?
Yeah, well, basically, Winston State's 3-3 right now. Behind Livingstone is 3-1, but
Uh
Kaplan,
huh.
Fayetteville State are 4-2 in the
That's
Southern
right.
Division.
Livingstone is the division leader
Mm-hmm.
in the East, right? And Claflin is division leader in the West.
Yeah, the Northern,
Um,
yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, North South. I'm sorry. That's on me. I'm so busy thinking. I'm already ahead on in the SEAC already.
There you go.
Yeah. Like I said, God, we just said it. Claflin in the South and God, who's that? Fayetteville State leading the North. But those are the
Mm-hmm.
4 programs that have over 10 wins.
Yeah.
Um, but Virginia State, like you said, is the lone undefeated team in the CIAA. And you did bring up something that's most definitely has precedence for Saturday. Excuse me, Scott. For
Mm-hmm.
this upcoming Saturday, down at VSU, you got Virginia State and Virginia Union facing off. So it's gonna be the first meeting
Mm.
for them this year. I know they're gonna be rocking in Ettrick to see exactly. I'm actually gonna be down there for that game. So this will be my first time
Okay, cool.
checking out those programs
Right.
live and in color. So it's gonna be. I know they're gonna be rocking down there, man, to see exactly what their atmosphere is gonna be like. To see who's going to end up having first place by the end of the weekend.
Nice. And we're going to transition to the last of the big four HBCU conferences, the SIAC or SEAC, depending on where you're from. Going to the women's side, it looks like in the East, you have Savannah State, Shannon Sharp's alma mater, leading the division, the East Division at 7-2 in conference, with 11-3 overall. So they're pretty damn good. Then in the South, how about Tuskegee, man? 10-0.
Yeah.
10-0 in conference play, 13-3
13
overall.
and 3 overall.
Yeah, bro. Followed by, check this out, Lane College at 6-2 in conference, 10-3 overall.
Uh-huh.
Miles College at 6-3 in conference and 9-4 overall. And even Central State and Kentucky State They're both over 500 in conference play, but they're 77 overall. Both of them, they're pretty competitive. So, man, I mean, it looks like all the competition is in the West.
Yeah, they're going to have a murderer's row getting through that division to see who ends up being the number one seed. Excuse me, in that division. But yeah, like you said, Tuskegee, most definitely keep an eye out for them, and also keep an eye out, like you said, as well for Savannah State to see how they end up doing in the tournament. It'll be wonderful to see if those two teams are the ones that end up facing off against one another in the finals. But the way that the bracket is set up,
right,
being that you have it, and same thing for the CIAA, when you have the conferences not conferences, but the divisions interwoven based upon what their seeding are in one another. It's a possibility we may end up getting two teams like we've done before in the past from the same division in the title game.
Yeah,
so again, regular season's cool,
right,
but it's all going to come again. Division 2 is a lot more. We will end up seeing more representatives from HBCUs in the Division 2 tournament. So we'll probably end up seeing maybe three to four, about three teams from the SIAC too to make it to the women's tournament. Yeah,
it looks pretty competitive. Speaking of competitive, let's check out the men's side quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Savannah State also doing it like on the men's side in their division, in the East Division, at 7-2 in conference, 9-4 overall, followed by Fort Valley State at 6-3 in conference, 8-7 overall. The Fighting Greg Lloyds. But then you go down here to the West, just like in women's.
The West Division is crushed.
It's
tough.
Brutal. It's brutal. I mean,
tough.
Miles and Tuskegee are 8-2 in conference play. They're 12-3 and 13-4 overall.
Yeah.
That is tough, man. And then Kentucky State is 7-2 in conference, 8-3 overall, followed by I'm gonna butcher their name, Lemoyne Owen.
Yeah.
5-3 in conference, 10-5 overall.
Mm-hmm.
Good goobly goo.
Yeah, that division is tough, like you said. Again, it would be interesting to see how the regular season plays and to see how the seeding falls for the tournament. But as much as we've talked about the SIAC on the men's side and how well those teams have been playing, Scott, there's only two teams from HBCUs that are ranked nationally for Division 2.
Really?
Yeah, Claflin at number 21.
Okay.
And a program that we haven't talked about all night, West Virginia State, out of the WVIAA, who I kind of subliminally touched on earlier when I said Virginia State. Yeah, West Virginia State, that is currently, what are they, 13th? Oh, sorry, they're 17th in the nation.
Okay, wow.
With a record of 13-1. So, that's another program who doesn't necessarily get a lot of focus put upon them because they're not in the HBCU conference.
Right.
But they're out there balling right now. And I'm going to be intrigued to see exactly what type of run that they'll end up making if they make it to the tournament.
Yeah, and for those of you who want to bet on some college basketball, especially on the CIAA, for those of you who want to, or to really decide who really want to keep abreast of that competitive conference, you can go to BetUs.com to check that out. So listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. And if you look for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds, boosters, props, and parlays, we got it. And how about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? We got that too. So log to BETUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Also use the promo code TKT for the Klown Times as well. So BetUS.com, where the game begins. All right.
Wait, before we move on real quick, Scott, you kind of touched on it. I got to ask, you're able to bet D2 program games on with them?
I'm sure. Yes. I mean, you can bet college sports. You can bet, you can bet college sports no matter what division.
Oh, wow.
They got them, man. I mean, it's Vegas, baby. Yeah, so check them out, please. Check out BetUS. Anybody out there? Hey, Get your bet on at BetUs.com. You'd be glad you did. Trust me on it. Trust me on it. Since we are a sports show, I know we do a lot of HBCUs and we love it. We love our HBCU sports. We do a lot of other sports as well. We used to talk a lot NBA in the past, tennis, college football, Power 5, and NFL, all that good stuff, NBA, all that good stuff. So I want to give a quick shout out to the University of Georgia for beating the dog piss out of TCU Monday night. I mean, good gracious, man, 65-7. I mean, yeah, I was, right? And I'm sure most America was the same way, thinking that after the two great semifinal games, right? TCU beat Michigan. I mean, I know the final score indicated only 6-point difference, but TCU, if you watched the game, anyone who watched that game knew that TCU would control that game almost damn near from start to finish. They were the better team throughout the evening. But they gave us a good game with Michigan. And then Ohio State came within this much of beating, as far as a field goal kick, away from beating Georgia, 42-41. So here I was thinking we're going to get a competitive game, not failing to pay attention to the matchup, because every game is predicated on matchups.
Yeah.
Which is why we had two great semifinal games, because both matchups complemented like one another. And it showed. It really showed. But man, the national championship game, Georgia with all the 4 and 5 stars on one side. TCU, God bless them, the little engine that could, with barely any 3, maybe they guess them probably got some 3 stars, but they may have a 1 4-star. Maybe, I don't think they have any 5 stars. I could be wrong with that. But they did not. Oh my God, the lack of talent level, the talent level disparity, it showed. And when Stetson Bennett on that third down play on the first, I think it was the first quarter or second quarter, who faked out the end rusher coming brutally on the blitz for TCU. I don't know if you remember this, but he kind of baited it. He stood there, he spun at the last minute, got around the corner for a first down, and then a few plays later, they scored a touchdown, go up 24-7 the first time. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. I mean, the lack of the talent disparity, it's just crazy, which begs the question. And I heard this bandied about on social media, and you may have some things to say about this too. This thing is going to go to 12 teams in 2 years. Okay, so basically, will this going to 12? Would this hamper the product, if you will, of seeing future potential ass whoopings in the final? Because I mean, let's be real. Even though you're going to open it up, which is, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be hella cool to open it up and see the tantalizing matchups, especially in the first 2 years, in the first 2 rounds on the first rounds right on college campuses. All right. And I think it's the quarterfinals and the semifinals will be at bowls, which I think sucks because I'd rather the quarterfinals to be on college campuses. I mean, what the hell are you going to do? I mean, put in the Gator Bowl, like, for the damn quarterfinals. I mean, to me, that's stupid, but it is what it is. They're doing it for, I think, the first 2 years, 2024 and 2025, because the contract really kicks in 2026, right? They're getting ahead of it 2 years ahead of time. So it's why they got to honor those contracts with the bowls, I guess. But from what I'm hearing, they're going to actually do it so that the first 2 rounds, the first round and the quarterfinals, are going to be on college campuses.
Okay.
It's just the final 4, the last 4 teams will be at the major bowls. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. That's totally cool. I just want the first 2 rounds on college campuses. Bowls don't mean anything to me. But point is this, man. Seeing what happened after those 2 great semifinal games, would this matter? Would going to 12 teams matter in the long run? Are we going to pretty much see more ass whippings? Whether they go to 12, 16, 64, I don't know. Would it even matter?
More ass whoopings? I don't know, right?
Uh-huh.
It depends upon how things go. Because, of course, this is most definitely an anomaly, dude. What we saw Monday, we've never seen before. My prayer is that we never see a 70-point or a 60-point ass thrashing ever again.
65-7, bro.
You know what I'm supposed to say is 60 points, dude. Yeah.
65-7. God.
Yeah, and it was to the point where it seemed as though that Georgia wasn't even letting up. Yeah, they put in their second string, but the second string was like, dude, we want to show that we good too.
Right.
So yeah, it just got ugly. But let me put something into perspective for you, Scott.
Yeah.
25 years combined of both the BCS and the CFP.
Mm-hmm.
There have only been 13 different champions.
Right.
You know, with the 7 teams that have multiple titles, Alabama is the only one that has 6.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of change that has happened within the past 25 years. And I don't know if we'll necessarily see a ton of change in the future.
Even if you go back to the 80s, only a handful of teams that were dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, like outside of the outliers like Pitt and Clemson 1981, I mean, really the usual suspects, Georgia, Penn State, Miami, especially Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot. I mean, it was always Ohio State. It was only a handful of teams, Nebraska, that were consistently outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Notre Dame. So, I mean, it was, if you go back to the 70s, Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Same usual suspects, right?
Yes.
Usual suspects.
Yes. I mean, SC, USC, but I mean,
it's but it seems like the further, but it seems like the further along in time we've gone, it's almost gotten worse in a sense, right?
Yeah.
You know, to go back over those numbers, out of the combined 50 total appearances that could be had, right?
Right.
I would say, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 18 programs. There have only been 18 programs that have played in those possible 15 appearances, with Tennessee, Nebraska, Notre Dame, and Virginia Tech being the only ones to appear one time in those national championship games. Everyone else has appeared at least twice or more.
Right.
USC, Texas, Miami, Auburn, Florida, all twice. Florida State, in Oklahoma 4 times. But you know what? Those were all during the BCS era.
Right.
You start going over to I did say BCS, right?
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure. So you start talking about the CFP era. You start talking about your Bamas, Clemsons, Georgias, LSUs, Oregons, and TCUs.
Right.
With, of course, Bama, Clemson, and Georgia, and Ohio State all appearing at least twice.
Yep.
So it's not a lot of change. It's not a lot of carryover, but now we're going to open it up to more teams, which is going to be cool because you now have more teams competing for the championship. The question, though, who are we going to see in the title game? Probably more likely one of those 6 teams that we talked about at an abundance right now. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, excuse me.
Sure.
Oregon, if they can turn it on. So it's going to be real intriguing to see. Well, not intriguing, but you can wake me up. You can put me to sleep right now, and I could wake up, say, the first week of December, and be like, let me guess, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan, and Notre Dame are in the playoffs right now, right? And chances are I'll be right. It's all about guessing who that group of 5 team is going to be. That's going to be intriguing. And then with the arguments over who the other at-larges are going to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's bad.
And who the ACC champ is going to be. I'm sorry. I almost forgot about that.
Well, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. I mean, ACC is having a rough go of it in football and basketball. But, look, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want this to dampen. I mean, ass whoopings happen. It happens.
They
But
do.
I think the more college football is, it has more have nots and halves.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of halves out there. Even in
Yeah.
the SEC, there are not that many halves. I mean, it's the same conference that has the likes of Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Missouri. Auburn is a half, but still, you don't
They've been
have any
looking rather
halves.
have notish over the
That's
past
true
few
too.
years.
On the field, they got the resources, but on the field, hell no. But you
Yeah.
you got all these even the schools in the SEC, a lot of them don't have. All of them are not halves.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama, Texas A&M, as far as a resource perspective, um, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Tennessee. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
it. As far as the resources concerned, Auburn has resources too, but there are a lot of schools. Mississippi State, I mentioned earlier. They don't have. Ole Miss doesn't have the resources that Alabama. They don't have the resources that Texas A&M. They don't have the resources that's Georgia. You know what I mean? So even Tennessee, they don't have the resources of Tennessee. So it's still the University of Missouri is not a half in the
Mm-hmm.
SEC. So and we don't get me started on ACC. I mean, all those
Yeah.
private schools, small
Yeah.
private schools in the ACC. No disrespect to Wake Forest. I love y'all. I grew up near your campus. You have not, as far as youth systems go in football. Duke is a have not. So, Boston College, Syracuse, compared to the Clemsons of the world, North Carolinas, they're the halves.
Yeah.
Florida State, resources-wise, is a half. So you still see it in Power Five conferences. So again, unless some really great coaching comes along, it's more the same. But I am excited about the 12 teams. I'm excited about the 12 teams, regardless.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Again, this is me just throwing this out there.
Sure.
ACC, Pac-12, and Group of Five.
Mm-hmm.
Those will be the three teams that we're going to be keeping our eyes out on the most to see who gets in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's going to be some debate. Well, not debate. There's going to be, of course, whoever wins the SEC, which will probably be one of three teams. Let's be realistic. Bama,
Right.
Georgia, and whoever the third team is going to be. Welcome to the party, pal. Then in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan, and then whatever the surprise team is going to be.
Yeah.
And then it may get a little bit more intriguing when USC and UCLA makes their way in. I'm going to be interested to see what a USC team led by Lincoln Riley looks like a couple of years into the Big Ten facing off against Ohio State. I don't know if I can trust Michigan anymore.
Right.
And I don't necessarily
They may not
know
have their coach next year.
exactly, right? I was just about to say that. But with
Yeah.
all that said, man, it's still going to be the usual suspects with at
Mm-hmm.
least half of those teams, with another half of that half being another grouping of usual suspects, with about debates on who those other three teams are going to be. And then when those games are played out, it's going to be that upper tier of the top 2 to 3 teams that are going to be very good, and then you're going to have everybody else within that 12-team playoff.
Right.
You may get a surprise when someone sneaks into the title game, but I'm a little concerned on how that's going to look, because we might end up having another blowout. But
Yeah.
Because it's any given Saturday, right?
That's correct.
And then
You
with
never know.
injuries, and then with injuries, transfer portal, somebody has a change of heart, whatever, during the playoffs or whatever. I'm going to be intrigued to see how that plays out too. But I'm
Yep.
expecting to see the same usual suspects playing in a title game from here on out until stuff starts changing.
Yeah, indeed. That's a good point. One last thing. Let's close the show on this, man.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a quick, speaking of football, we all know that Black Monday passed,
Yeah.
right? Lost in the firings. Cliff Kingsbury out of Arizona, kind of saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to give a quick shout out to two people. First one being Mike Tomlin.
Man, listen.
To get that bunch, that sorry ass bunch. I'm a Steelers fan. People know this.
Mm-hmm.
That bunch with Mitch Trubisky starting out the year as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, the first 6 or so games of the year. I forget how many games exactly. Follow that up with starting a rookie, Kenny Pickett, who I have high hopes for. I like Kenny Pickett a lot coming out of Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
But starting those two guys, having a defense that at first was have trouble stopping me from running the football, and having the offensive line that started out being so bad that couldn't block out neither me nor you. And yes, they improved throughout the season, but to get that bunch on paper, who's very limited talent, has limited talent on paper, to 9-8 after a 2-6 start, head into the bye week at 2-6.
Scott, they ended up 2 weeks later 3-7.
That's correct. And from there, if my North Carolina math dictates correctly, they went 6-1.
Yes.
Close the season.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, and look, I've been critical of Mike Tomlin, as you know, in the past. Many people have been more critical of me for God knows what reasons, but I can pontificate on one reason. But the point is that Mike Tomlin is a goddamn good coach. He's a good damn coach. And I want to give that man his flowers. And more remarkably, he still has yet to have a losing season.
No.
And people flew up and down, including yours truly, thought that this would be the year to have his losing season after Ben Roethlisberger, with all that talent just purged out of there. Rookies, like starting some guys on the offensive line. We're over 500. We finished the year over 500 again.
Scott, I'm going to tell you like this. I might not have believed in Deion Sanders, but I believed in Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
When they were 3-7, we talked about it on Sleazy Sports.
Yes.
I tried to convince them. I was like, dude, at 3-7, I don't know how, but Mike Tomlin's going to find a way to get this team over 500.
And the fact that we were this close to making the playoffs, it went from Miami scoring a field goal late, we would be in the playoffs. That's how amazing that is.
Yeah.
That's how amazing Mike Tomlin is. So I want to give the brother his props. Yes, he's a capper. I know that. Shame on him. But still, he deserves all the props in the world. And I'm ready to give it to him. I'm ready to give him his props. So Mike Tomlin, man's game. Also, one more person to give props to, Lovie Smith. Yes, Lovie Smith got fired right after the game. Didn't go to the locker room properly. But the fact that he won his last game, and knowing the fact that could screw up Houston's chances of getting the number 1 overall pick, knowing that, he still had his team balling out on the field. Had a big lead, then gave the lead away because they're a bad team, but came back and retook the lead late in the game on a 4th and 20 Hail Mary. And then to make matters worse, they went for 2 and got it.
Yeah, and got it.
So they played to win. So for him to go out on the bang, knowing damn well that they will screw him the way they screwed David Culley, he basically did this on the way out.
Salute him. Yeah. You gonna find me anyway? You know what?
Game.
Number two. But you know what? They're gonna end up getting the quarterback that they want anyway, because the Bears currently have their QB. I doubt very seriously to take another QB at number 1. So they still get their QB, but you're not getting the number 1 overall pick, though. How about that?
Yeah, that's true too. And if they want the number 1 overall pick, because there are going to be some teams that are going to be looking to trade with Chicago. Because Chicago is in the catbird seat. They have their quarterback. They can entertain questions. Hey, maybe we don't like our quarterback. That's Bryce Young or whoever.
Yeah.
Someone will probably want Justin Fields, who's proven. Either way, Chicago will be winning.
Yeah.
And Houston's be holding the bag.
I mean, hopefully,
Lovie Smith did that. I'm glad Lovie Smith stuck it to him. because he knew that they're going to screw him the way they screwed David Cullen.
True.
Giving
True.
him a very devoid talent, the team that's so devoid of talent. No one can win with that team.
No.
No, who's their quarterback? If they don't know who Davis Webb is, most people don't know who Davis Webb is.
Davis Mills.
See, there you go.
You didn't even know who he was.
I don't know him. I don't know him. So, props again. You did it. If I had a can of beer, I'll just salute him like this and proceed to drink it. Lovie Smith, you are a man's man. You are a man's man. So, Dwayne, tell the good folks out there where they can follow you on social media.
You can find me all social media outlets at The Yard HBCU. Most definitely this week on Instagram, which I got a whole lot of catching up to do over the past few weeks. A lot of stuff that I need to post. You're most definitely going to catch me live, like I said, at outside of Richmond at that VSU Virginia Union matchup this Saturday. So follow me there to go ahead and get the live coverage there, both on Instagram and on Twitter. But before we go, I gotta make this quick announcement. Just we're talking about black head coaches. We kind of forgot about North Carolina A&T and their new football hire and head coach Vincent Brown. For those of you who may or may not be familiar with Vincent Brown, Vincent spent about 8 years in the NFL, all with the New England Patriots, playing under Coach Parcells. Excuse me, could potentially say that he's part of the Mike London, yes, that Mike London, formerly of University of Virginia coaching tree, because he's coached with Mike at Virginia, at Richmond, at William and Mary, and at Howard University as well. So he's part of that coaching tree. He is the new head coach there in Greensboro. It's kind of interesting, though, because the athletic director there at A&T, Earl Hilton, said, and I quote, "They were wanting a coach with experience, integrity, character, relationships, and a vision to move the program into the CAA." And this is after moving on and parting, a mutual parting of ways with Sam Washington that went 7-4 last year at A&T with an overall record of 31-15 and won them 2 national championships and 2 Celebration Bowl wins. So it's going to be interesting and intriguing to see how Vincent Brown does. This is a head coach that has experience coaching over in the CAA as an assistant. So we'll see exactly how he builds his staff, how he ends up attempting to recruit, and also how he ends up working in his first season. But for those who can also get a chance, I'm going to go ahead and pub another HBCU media outlet. I got to shout out my man, Samaj Marsh, over there at Blue Death Valley. They're actually interviewing Vincent Brown as we speak right now live. So go check them out and see the interview with Coach. I'm interested in seeing whether or not they ask Coach the hard questions. These are our A&T alums that have the hard questions and have started some beefs on social media recently. So I'm intrigued to see exactly if they ask Coach the hard questions or not. So I got to go check that out. I'm going to go ahead and implore you, those of you who are A&T fans, to go check out them and that interview to see if they ask him the hard questions as well.
There you go. So check them out, please, on the HBCU.com. See the backdrop there. HeroSports.com. Sleazy Sports every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. Also, please see like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. It's found on YouTube as well, obviously. Again, you do so. If you do so, you'd be glad you did. I'm glad you did. Website, www.theclowntimes.net. That's Clown spelled with K. And last but not least, get the merch, CafePress.com, from the Clown Tower Sports. All those links are in the description underneath this video. Till next time, y'all have a good weekend. Take care, stay warm, stay cool, and all that good stuff. Peace out.